Maybe we should put a few items on the table, Amanda.
Okay, but
I don't know what. This is the problem. Like,
I want to see this kiosk radio cup with the QR code.
So I'll just get a mic check from you. If you just say what you had for lunch today.
I had a kebab and chippies.
I also had a kebab and some chips and samurai sauce.
I'm Amanda, and I'm studying architecture at the moment.
Hi, I'm Daniel Zhang. I'm originally born in Sydney, grew up there, but moved to Melbourne to do my Masters of Architecture that I'm currently doing, but at the moment we're both living in Brussels.
And why are you wearing a Pedla hat?
Yeah.
No, I'm joking, it doesn't matter. I think it doesn't matter. Oh, we met at an architecture faculty party. So like we live in a suburb called Saint-Gilles, and so there's like Paris Saint-Gilles, which is like the forecourt area, and it's just like a really cool place where like all the bars and stuff kind of like extend onto like the forecourt, and it's kind of like a square. And I think that typology doesn't really exist in Australia, or not to like the extent of what they are here. And it's, you know, it's not just Paris Saint-Gilles, they're kind of everywhere in every suburb. Yeah, I think I like the like roughness of Brussels a bit more, that you're more free to do random things. I had a pretty Brussels day recently where it was like kind of in exam period, so like I had a group assignment to do, so I rode my bike along the canal to a friend's house, and then we kind of was, four of us who were like working, and then the Brussels Classic was on at the same time, and we so happened to be 2 streets away from the finish. So I was like, yeah, there's a cycling race, do we want to go watch it? So we were like all kind of looking at the computer, like trying to do an assignment, but then like kind of counting down the Ks of like, oh, they're going to be here in 10Ks, 5Ks. We walked over and watched the end of the race, and then walked back and started doing more work. But it was pretty Brussels, I think.
We went to also the CX World Champs in like Hugohee. The most amount of people I ever saw in a small area, all for like a cycling race, and everyone is just also super drunk as well. These old Belgian dudes loving it. They just love it. It's like, yeah.
You're excited to ride as well?
Yeah.
Are you nervous?
I'm just worried, like, I'm not worried, like, what the fuck are we gonna talk about?
Yeah.
I entered this Strava competition that was organised by Red Bull Belgium. And pretty much you have to ride like 30 minutes, how many days for I think like 3 weeks or so. And then you go into the draw to win like a bunch of prizes. And the top prize was you get a helmet from Red Bull, like one of this special Wild Bernard helmet, a pack of Red Bulls that I've got in the fridge, and you also win a training session with Wout.
We ride in a place called Pajottenland a lot, which is like, sounds like a mystical place, but it's real. And yeah, it's like kind of where Remco's like local route is.
So weird.
Remco mural.
Riding on cobbles here, because sometimes they're unavoidable.
Yeah.
Like you really know just how like hard it is, because it's just like, you take a turn and you're like, okay, we can't avoid this, 200 meters of cobble, and then you kind of get a real sense of like just how like fucked up every day is. I got into cycling not too long ago, I guess. Like it was, I guess for both of us, we started in like the same way. Like it was 2020 COVID, and a bunch of our friends and us were like bored, and we were like, oh, let's try train for a triathlon. Yeah, and then I think both of us, the swimming and the running kind of just went away a bit. For me, when I moved to Melbourne, I started like casually working at Pedla, like the LLCC shop, being around the shop and around the people there who just likes bikes. It kind of like, there's not really any way that you can't get more into it, like in the space.
I guess I grew up playing a lot of sports, and I always try to be, I guess, like competitive in the sports. So I think you kind of chase the pain a little bit. It's like not, I enjoy pushing myself. I think that's like what keeps me motivated to ride more. Yeah, and it's like also a good way to push yourself. I think Brussels perhaps doesn't have the iconic architecture that perhaps other cities have. Like they don't have the one building, and I also don't think it should. Like I think architecture has to be about like this one building that everyone flocks to. But I think there are so many elements of like Brussels, or maybe it's like Flemish architecture that combine that they make like this city that has so many like unique areas.
The choice of architecture at the start was maybe a bit like naive, or coming out of school you are like, okay, I need to choose something, and so I don't know, for me at least it was like, okay, I like to think I'm a little bit creative, but then I think I was also quite logical, like I don't know, with like maths and things like that. So in my head I thought, okay, architecture must be some sort of combination of being creative but then also being a bit more logical, and that's why I think I chose it at the start, but I don't necessarily think that that's what it really is. But I think I've like grown to love what architecture actually is.
At least what I'm interested in is very like pragmatic and realistic, and that's what I think architecture should be.
Our philosophies of like design are like quite similar, but like we're also, I think we like push each other a bit. And I think like being so comfortable with each other is almost like you can say whatever you want. Like you can tell me it's a shit idea and I don't really care. I don't know, I like didn't really ever think I could do endurance sports because I never grew up doing it. So starting cycling and then like running, and then you realize that like, oh, this can build, like you can actually like train and do it. Yeah, I think I like those like really long endurance rides, because then it's like, oh, it kind of just proves that I could actually do this.
Whether I'm by myself or like with Amanda or riding with people, or you have like headphones in, it's just like, I don't know, it's bliss. I think it's just such a good feeling to be out there and just, pushing your body and then, feeling so good about it,
Yeah, I think the bike will kind of stay as an everyday thing. Like bikes will always be part of life, it's in some way.
It's always going to be there in some form, or whether it's like following in the sport. If you see someone go past you on a bike, you're always going to look. Or like if you hear a hub, I'm always going to turn my head. I guess it's that sort of like, it's in the back of my head all the time now, and I don't want it to go away.
Yeah.